May 3, 2007. The Algarve coast of Portugal, a resort town called Praia da Luz. Families from across Europe had gathered here for the warm weather, the beaches, the sense of safety that comes with a holiday. Kate and Gerry McCann were exactly that kind of family, two doctors from England, on vacation with their 3 young children. That night would end everything they had ever known. The McCanns had been dining at a tapas restaurant roughly 50 meters from their apartment in the Ocean Club resort complex. They and a group of friends took turns checking on their children throughout the evening. At 10 p.m., Kate walked back to check on the kids. She opened the bedroom door. Madeleine's bed was empty. The window was open. Their daughter was gone. Madeleine McCann was 3 years old, just shy of her 4th birthday. She had distinctive blue eyes, with a small dark fleck in the iris of her right eye, a feature that would become one of the most recognizable markers in child missing history. Within hours, her face was on every television screen in Britain. Within days, it was everywhere. Portuguese police launched an immediate investigation. The Polícia Judiciária, Portugal's criminal investigation unit, sealed the scene and began interviewing witnesses. Multiple guests reported seeing a man carrying a young child near the Ocean Club on the night of the disappearance. These descriptions would become central to the investigation for years. One witness, Robert Murat, a British-Portuguese man who lived near the resort, became the first arguido, or formal suspect, in the case. His bilingual skills had made him useful to police as an interpreter. But his proximity to the investigation, combined with his behavior in the days after Madeleine vanished, made officers suspicious. His property was searched. Nothing incriminating was found. He was eventually cleared. By September 2007, the investigation took a seismic turn. Portuguese police declared Kate and Gerry McCann themselves as arguidos, formal suspects. Forensic evidence from British labs, they claimed, had detected traces of blood and cadaverine, the chemical scent of decomposition, in the boot of a car the McCanns had rented weeks after their daughter disappeared. The McCanns vehemently denied any involvement. Independent forensic experts later challenged the evidence, arguing the DNA samples were too degraded and too low quantity to be reliable. In 2008, Portuguese prosecutors dropped the investigation, citing insufficient evidence to charge anyone. The arguido status was lifted from the McCanns. But the damage to their reputation had been done. Gerry and Kate McCann established the Find Madeleine Fund, raising millions of pounds to keep the search alive and hire private investigators. They met with popes and presidents. They wrote a book. They gave hundreds of interviews. Some admired their determination. Others, cruelly, never stopped suspecting them. They lived in a permanent state of accusation. In 2011, Scotland Yard launched Operation Grange, a full review of the case at the request of the British Home Office. Over 40 detectives combed through 40,000 documents, 100,000 hours of phone records, and more than 8,000 possible suspects. The review cost tens of millions of pounds. It became one of the longest-running and most expensive missing persons investigations in British history. Operation Grange identified a new theory, that Madeleine had been taken by a burglar who had been watching the resort, targeting apartments where parents had gone out for the evening. CCTV footage and cell tower data were analyzed. New witnesses were re-interviewed. The team believed there was a reasonable chance Madeleine had been abducted, not harmed by her parents. Then, in 2020, came the name that would reshape the entire case. German prosecutors announced they were investigating Christian Bruckner, a German man with a lengthy criminal history of sexual offenses against children. Bruckner had lived in the Algarve during the time of Madeleine's disappearance. He had driven a distinctive yellow camper van. His phone had pinged a tower near Praia da Luz the night she vanished. Christian Bruckner was already serving a 7-year sentence in Germany for the rape of an American woman in the Algarve in 2005. German prosecutors Hans Christian Wolters publicly stated they had evidence Madeleine was dead and that Bruckner was responsible. He called on Bruckner to confess. Bruckner, through his lawyers, denied everything. The evidence against Bruckner remained largely circumstantial in public view. German prosecutors hinted at a key piece of evidence that they refused to reveal publicly, saying it was too sensitive and risked compromising the case. For years, this cryptic statement hung over the investigation. What did they know? Why couldn't they charge him? In 2023, German courts dealt a blow to prosecutors when Bruckner was acquitted of several other rape charges in an unrelated case, charges that included the assault of a 5-year-old girl. The jury found insufficient evidence. Observers noted that if prosecutors couldn't convict him on those charges, the Madeleine case would be even harder to prosecute without new evidence. By 2024, Operation Grange was still technically open, though running on minimal resources. Portuguese police had reopened their own investigation. The McCanns, now in their 50s, continue to advocate for Madeleine. Jerry McCann told reporters in 2024 that they had not given up hope. That the case could still be solved. That Madeleine deserved justice. One of the most haunting elements of this case is the sheer scope of the failure. An entire resort full of witnesses. Multiple law enforcement agencies across multiple countries. 17 years of investigation. And still, no body, no confirmed suspect, no trial, no closure for the family. Madeleine McCann remains officially missing. Forensic experts who have studied the case point to fundamental errors in the original Portuguese investigation. The scene was contaminated. Key witnesses weren't separated before giving statements. Phone records were analyzed too late. If the same case happened today, with modern forensic technology and better coordinated international policing, the outcome might have been different. The case also exposed brutal realities about how media attention can both help and destroy an investigation. Within days of Madeleine's disappearance, 500 journalists descended on Praia da Luz. Potential witnesses were approached before police could reach them. Evidence was discussed on television before investigators could assess it. The press became part of the crime scene. There is also the uncomfortable reality of privilege. Would a child from a working-class family, from a non-white family, from a family without the connections and resources to hire PR firms and private detectives, would that child's case have received the same global attention? Critics argued that the McCann case revealed a disturbing hierarchy in how missing children are valued. Christian Bruckner remains in a German prison. As of 2024, he is serving his sentence for the 2005 rape conviction. German prosecutors continue to work the Madeleine case. They have stated publicly that they are certain of his guilt. But certainty and proof are not the same thing in a court of law. What happened in that apartment on the night of May 3rd? The window. The empty bed. The 50 meters between parents and child. Every detail has been examined 1,000 times. Every theory has been argued and dismantled and argued again. The truth, if it exists somewhere, has not yet been found. Madeleine McCann would be 23 years old today. The girl in the photographs, with the blonde hair and the distinctive eyes and the gap-toothed smile, never had the chance to grow up. Her disappearance remains one of the most painful unresolved cases of the 21st century. A family still waiting. A world that hasn't forgotten. True crime cases often provide closure. A conviction. A confession. A body. A name. The Madeleine McCann case offers none of those things. What it offers instead is a window into the machinery of grief, the limits of investigation, and the terrible permanence of not knowing. For Kate and Jerry McCann, every day is still the day after May 3, 2007. If you have any information about the disappearance of Madeleine McCann, the Find Madeleine campaign can be reached at findmadeleine.com. Portuguese and German authorities both maintain active tip lines. 17 years is a long time. But cases have been solved after longer silences than this. Somewhere, someone knows what happened. The Madeleine McCann case is not just a mystery. It is a mirror. It reflects how we investigate, how we report, how we judge, and how we grieve as a society. It will be studied for decades, not just for what it reveals about a single crime, but for what it reveals about all of us.